Hello everyone, this video will go through the story of GTA 4. In 2008, Niko Bellic, an Eastern European war veteran and former human trafficker, arrives in Liberty City and reunites with his cousin Roman, who runs a small taxi company in the city. Then he begins to working for Roman's company, soon meeting his girlfriend Mallory, who introduces him to her friend Michelle, whom he quickly begins to date. During working for Roman, Niko meets little Jacob, whom he helps in dealing with several rival drug dealers, with the pair becoming good friends. Niko later meets Vlad Glebov, Roman's Russian loan shark, who gives him several debt-collecting jobs in exchange for postponing Roman's debt. But Niko learns that Vlad has slept with Roman's girlfriend Mallory, so he kills him and dumps his body into the river despite of Roman's objection. He tells Roman that in the war, his squad has been sold out by a traitor and only 3 of them survived. One of his purposes to Liberty City is to find and kill the traitor who has escaped here. Because of Vlad's death, Niko and Roman are kidnapped by Mikhail Forstin and Dmitry Raskolov, the leaders of Russian mafia and of Vlad's superiors. Forstin is shown to be an absolute hothead, but is not bothered by Vlad's murder and ends up releasing the pair and employing Niko for his own dirty works. Most of the jobs involve attacks against Kenny Petrovich, Liberty City's most powerful mobster. After Petrovich threatens to retaliate, Niko meets with Dmitry privately, who explains that he needs to kill Forstin to make amends with Petrovich. Out of options, Niko assassinates Forstin, being promised to be paid by Dmitry. However, when Niko meets Dmitry at a warehouse to collect his money, Dmitry betrays him and sells him out to his friend and fellow Russian crime lord, Ray Bogory, Niko's former employer as a human trafficker from whom Niko came to Liberty City to escape. Niko escaped from ambush with little Jacob's help, but Dmitry's men soon burned down both Roman's taxi company and apartment in retaliation. After losing everything, Niko and Roman moved to Bohan district, where Niko begins to working on a recommendation of Mallory for Manny Escuela, who's dedicated to clean up the streets, and Elisabetta Torres, a Puerto Rican drug dealer. One day, Niko receives an angry call from Elisabetta, who tells him that little Jacob sold some of her cocaine to the Angel of Death, and they had ripped both of them off. Niko successfully retrieved the drugs, but when he goes to give them to Jacob, he is surprised to find Michelle, who reveals herself as an undercover government agent actually named Karen, and brings him before her agency, known only by its cover, United Liberty Paper. Niko is entrapped into working for the agency and is tasked with killing the suspected terrorists. In return, the agency clears his criminal record and promises to track down the traitor of his old squad. Niko later visits Elisabetta one final time, who reveals that she is under investigation of the police and fears that she will be arrested soon. Just as Manny and his cameraman working and attempt to convince her to stop dealing drugs, in a drug-induced outburst, Elisabetta kills both of them and then asks Niko to dispose of the bodies. Then Niko cuts all ties with her. One day, Roman suddenly disappears and Mallory informs Niko that he has been kidnapped. Dmitry sends Niko a photo of kidnapped Roman to declare responsible for this commitment. Niko fights through numerous Dmitry's gangsters in a warehouse to save Roman out, with his hatred toward Dmitry intensifying. A corrupt cop, Francis McReary, blackmails Niko to kill the people who possess incriminating evidence against him. Then Niko makes acquaintance with his brothers, Patrick, Gerard, and Derek. They plan a robbery on the Bank of Liberty, in which Niko plays an important part. LCPD is shocked by this event, and one of the robbers, Michael, is killed in the process, but the others escape to heavy police forces with their assets. The successful robbery strengthens McReary brothers' trust on Niko, and Niko helps them against the Albania mobsters, as well as developing a relationship with their sister Kate. Through Patrick, Niko meets Italian mobster and Pellegrino family Caporeggion, Ray Boccino, who employs him to assist him with a major diamond dealing scheme. First, Niko and several of Boccino's associates, led by Luca Silvestri, retrieved the diamonds from several trash bags, where they were hidden away after being stolen from nightclub owner Tony Prince. However, Luca and his crew betray Pacino and plan to run away with the diamonds, forcing Nico to kill them. Nico then works with Johnny Kravitz to attempt to sell the diamonds to Jewish mob representative Isaac Ross. But they are ambushed by Luis Lopez, a friend of Tony Prince, and he steals the diamonds, which Johnny escapes with the money in the chaos. In exchange for his work for him, Pacino helps Nico track down Florian Claridge, one of the other two survivors of his old squad. Nico and Roman confront Florian, who changes his name to Bernie Crane. They discover that he is not a traitor, meaning that the one who betrayed the squad can only be the other known survivor, Darko Brevic. Pacino later introduces Nico to his friend and associate, Phil Bell, with whom Nico works in some heroin crimes. Bell later recommends him to their boss, Jimmy Pecorino. Pecorino is concerned about the recent loss in power of his family and eager to join the commission, employing Nico to assist him on a deal with Pavano crime family that would hopefully allow him to achieve this goal. However, the Pavano end up double-crossing Pecorino and attempt to kill him, but Nico is able to save him, and later is asked to attack the major group of Pavanos as payback. Over time, Pecorino grows more paranoid and believes to be surrounded by rats, asking Nico to kill his bodyguard Anthony Corrado, who was revealed to be an FIB informant, and later rape Pacino as well, whom he suspects of being an informant. Around the same time, Nico visits Gerard McCreary in prison, who asks him to help Patrick kidnap Gracie Ancelotti, the daughter of Giovanni Ancelotti, the Don of Ancelotti family, in order to later ransom her off for the diamonds, which Gerard learned came into the possession of Ancelotti family. Nico successfully kidnaps Gracie, and Patrick later sets up an exchange. The exchange goes well at first, until Ray Bogren arrives and orders his men to kill Nico and retrieve the diamonds. One of his men grabs the diamonds and throws them into a passing garbage truck, leading to them being permanently lost. Afterwards, Nico pays a final visit to Gerard, who asks him to look after his family. Eventually, United Liberty paper tracks down Darko Brevic and brings him to the cargo bay of Francis International Airport, informing Nico before cutting all ties with him. Nico, accompanied by Roman, finds Darko and after a tense confrontation with the traitor, kills him. Pecorino calls Nico and asks him to meet him at the strip club. There, Pecorino asks him to conduct a heroin deal with Dimitri, which Pecorino will pay Nico $250,000 for. Nico, however, is reluctant to do so because of animosity between him and Dimitri. Nico phones Roman about his dilemma, while Roman encourages him to conduct a deal, claiming Dimitri has changed and they can use the money to live a better life. Nico and Bill drive to Port Tudor, where the deal is to take place. It turns out, however, that Dimitri has betrayed them again. He killed the people who Nico was supposed to make deal with, and kept the heroin stuff. Nico and Bill, being placed in a very perilous situation in a third-party compound, decide to steal the money. They enter the warehouse from the roof and find themselves in a gunfight. After killing most of the men, they make their way to the room with the money, only to see someone else escaping with it. They chase the thief down, killing him and collect their money. The day of Roman's wedding, Nico witnesses Roman and Mallory get married. During the celebration outside the church, a man walks up behind Nico and points a gun at him, claiming it is a gift from Dimitri. Nico wrestles with the man, and after a straight shot is fired, succeeds in forcing the pistol back and shooting the man in the head. The straight shot, however, had hit Roman in the chest and killed him. Enraged at his cousin's death, Nico thinks nothing but revenge. The following morning, Nico receives a phone call from Jacob, who explained that he has found some of Dimitri's men. Nico and Jacob chase the men to abandon the casino. Despite Jacob wanting to aid Nico in the fight, Nico insists he must do this alone. Nico tells Jacob that if he really wants to help, he should find a way to help him escape. After fighting through Dimitri's men, Nico fights his way into the casino. Inside the casino, Nico witnesses Pegorino being executed by Dimitri, who claims that he wants to keep the money for himself. Dimitri spots Nico and flees to the roof. He then boards a helicopter. Nico grabs hold of the helicopter, but is stopped by his hands and falls into the sea below. He then jumps into a nearby boat and resumes chase. In the middle of the chase, Jacob arrives in the helicopter. Nico jumps in and takes the wheel. After a brief chase, both helicopters crash on Happiness Island, where Nico chases and kills Dimitri for his betrayal and for orchestrating Roman's death. Jacob arrives, trying to console Nico but to no avail, as revenge brings nothing back to Nico except a void in his heart.